Alexander Isak to Liverpool takes new twist as Newcastle United makes transfer decision. Inter Milan and AC Milan race to sign Parma star linked to Liverpool. Attention Reds fans, Oliver Glasner responds to Liverpool's interest in signing Mark Guehi. Welcome, my fellow Reds supporter. Let's get to the news about the greatest club in the world. Newcastle United would be willing to keep Alexander Isak sidelined indefinitely rather than consider transferring him to Liverpool this summer. The Reds have made the Swedish striker their main target and have already offered £110 million, a bid categorically rejected by the Magpies earlier this month. Liverpool do not plan to submit a second offer unless Newcastle change their stance on not selling the player, who expressed his desire to leave early in the transfer window. According to The Telegraph, Newcastle's Saudi owners have told Isak that he will not join Liverpool for any price during this window, despite previously valuing him at around £150 million. This stance is expected to remain even if the club signs other forwards. Among their targets was Giovanni Wissa from Brentford, but Newcastle lost Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig to Manchester United. This information contrasts with the statements of manager Eddie Howe after a 2-2 draw against Espanyol at St. James Park, when asked if the club could force Isak to stay. It's not that simple, otherwise we'd have done it already. I don't think we're in a position to do that at the moment. With Isak out of the first team, the possibility of him being sidelined for a long period grows. The window closes on September 1st, and Howe has already confirmed he does not expect to reinstate him before the Premier League opener against Aston Villa next Saturday, making it unlikely he will play in the first home game against Liverpool. Sources indicate that Newcastle are unhappy with the conduct of Isak, his representatives, and Liverpool during the process, and that the player will not play again until he accepts the decision not to sell him to the Reds. This leaves the club at risk of being without their top scorer and most valuable asset from last season for an indefinite period. Liverpool remain interested, but are closely watching as the situation worsens. Newcastle offered the player a new contract this week, but according to journalist Fabrizio Romano, Isak rejected the proposal and reiterated his desire to move to Anfield. Romano said on his YouTube channel that although Newcastle want to keep him, Isak has made it clear he has no intention of renewing. He is training separately from the main squad and, despite not facing disciplinary action, remains away from group activities. Howe stressed that from a technical point of view, he would like to have the player back, but acknowledged that this will only be possible if the situation changes. While Newcastle have yet to find a replacement, Liverpool have signed Hugo Ekitike for £79 million after the Magpies had bids for Eintracht Frankfurt players rejected. The saga involving Isak and his future therefore remains open, with further developments expected in the coming weeks.
The Italian press, such as Corriere dello Sport, reports that Inter Milan and AC Milan are in a desperate race to sign Parma's young center-back Giovanni Leoni, just 19 years old, before he even turns 20. And it's no surprise. Leoni has already shown maturity and quality worthy of a veteran, being regarded as one of Serie A's best young defenders last season. Inter had already been eyeing him since last summer, but failed to secure a deal when he was still at Sampdoria. Parma stepped in and completed the signing. Now, with Cristian Chivu in charge, the Nerazzurri's interest has grown even stronger. On the other side, AC Milan also want the youngster. Max Allegri has made him a defensive priority and won't make things easy. However, both Inter and Milan know that to meet Parma's asking price, between 35 million and 40 million euros, they will need to sell key players. Inter may have to part with Christian Aslani or Mehdi Taremi, while Milan would likely have to sell Malik Theo to Newcastle for around 40 million euros to raise funds. And this is where our part comes in. Liverpool are also monitoring Leoni. And if there's one thing we've learned in recent years, it's that we can't hesitate when a young talent with the potential to be a starter for a decade appears. If we let Inter and Milan settle things first, they could snap him up before we make a move. Leoni is the kind of center back who would fit perfectly into the aggressive, dynamic style of the Premier League, especially with our defense needing long-term renewal. A tall player, strong in anticipation, and with quality ball distribution. Exactly the profile that could add depth and security to our backline. While the Italians race against time and crunch numbers to make room in their budgets, the Reds board should act fast. Because if it's up to Inter and Milan, this bidding war will escalate and the final price could climb even higher. If we want to secure Giovanni Leoni at Anfield, the time is now. Otherwise, we'll watch another promising talent shine far away from Liverpool. Do you think Liverpool should jump fully into the race for Giovanni Leoni now, before Inter and Milan close the deal? Or is it better to invest that money in a more experienced defender who can start right away? With the new Premier League season approaching, attention turns to players who could play a decisive role in the coming months. Among them is Marc Guehi, captain of Crystal Palace, who is currently facing uncertainty about his future. In the final year of his contract with the club, Guehi has delivered solid performances in recent seasons and has attracted interest from several top sides, with Liverpool among the main contenders. The recent departure of Jarell Quansah has opened a gap in the Reds' defense, one that could be filled by the English centre-back. Last summer, Newcastle United and Tottenham Hotspur were also linked with the 25-year-old. Now, under new management, Liverpool is considering a move. Crystal Palace wants to keep its captain, but manager Oliver Glasner admitted that the final decision lies with Guehi. In a recent interview, quoted by the Daily Mirror, Glasner said, "Mark and I share the same situation, a contract that expires at the end of the season, but I can't speak for him. In the end, the decision is always up to the player, and Mark will decide his future." Despite the uncertainty, Glasner reinforced the club's stance. Of course, everyone wants Mark to sign a new contract, at least everyone connected to Crystal Palace. But he acknowledged the difficulties of the market. You never know what happens in this transfer window, which is sometimes crazy. With the contract nearing its end, the possibility of a transfer next summer grows. Liverpool, seeking to strengthen its defense after recent changes and the departure of key names, sees Guehi as an ideal fit, a solid defender, experienced in the Premier League, and with international caps for England. Although the Reds' main focus this summer has been strengthening other areas of the squad, Guehi remains an attractive option, especially if his transfer fee drops due to his contract situation. Should the player signal his desire to leave Selhurst Park, Liverpool could move quickly. As the window progresses and the season approaches, Marc Guehi's future remains one of the most intriguing stories of the market. Liverpool is watching closely, ready to act if the opportunity arises. Thank you very much for watching until the end. See you next time.